Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Owner Show, where today we have got a super badass. Oh, yes, super badass. Let's show them our props, Jenny. Woo! Super badass, super cheerleader badass coach in the house. And that is the amazing Jennie Bellinger, who is the Domme of direct sales mastery. She has the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast. She has interviewed people like Jack Canfield and just some big names, plus, like this person here.
A really big name who happens to be in the room.
Who happens to be right here in the Zoom room. Woohoo. Yeah. And she just does such a great job. And you all, what she's going to tell us today is amazing because you got to monetize your podcast. Podcasts take a shit ton of work, you all. They do a shit ton of time. They're fun, but you got to be able to monetize that baby. Right, Jenny?
Yes, exactly. Because, people hear about all of the podcasts that are out there, and sometimes you'll find a good podcast, and then there's only 10 episodes or 7 episodes or 18 episodes, and then it stops, and you're like, what happened? Well, I can tell you what happened. The podcaster was not making enough money to keep it going. They felt that their time was better spent elsewhere. And, I've got to be frankly honest. I was not attracted to the idea of starting my own podcast initially when it was brought to my attention that this was an option. And I thought, well, because I was like, I'm trying to build a coaching business here. I don't need to go learn how to do a freaking podcast. I don't have time for this. And then finally I talked to the right person who helped me understand how podcasting could build my business. And then the way to do that is making sure I have things set up to monetize from the get-go. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean I can monetize from the get-go? Right? Well, think about it. Brand new TV show starts. They're still selling ads on the brand new pilot of the TV show that we don't know if we're going to watch it or not.
Yeah.
Why can't we?
Absolutely. Why can't we? And it's just that, people, well, here's what I find, Jenny, is like, and I talk to my Make It Happen Mastermind coaching clients about it all the time. We got to be strategic, right? Everything needs to be interconnected. So every piece of your podcast needs to relate to the other things that you're doing in your business. So it would be weird as hell if suddenly I started doing a podcast about making macaroni. Even though macaroni is really good, people would be like, what the hell is she doing that for?
Right.
We've got to repurpose stuff, but we also need to make sure that we are setting it up, as you said, in a strategic way from the get-go. And so for me, it's been all about really let me make some cool friends and associates like you, for instance, and let me get to know people and let me promote people who do great work in the world. But now I see also, well, to sustain this, I must monetize, maybe with sponsors, maybe with ads, all sorts of stuff. And I know you have a really, really smart way that you did this.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Just, let me ask you this. How many people do you think who have podcasts actually monetize them? What would be your guess? Like what percentage? Maybe only 5?
Oh, it's less than 1%.
Oh
it's less than 1% of people actually monetize in any way, shape, or form because, it's like I said, most people assume that they can't monetize until they have a huge audience. But I'm telling you, size doesn't matter. And you want to know how I know that?
We want to know.
I monetized with an audience of 0. I had no listeners. None.
Lord have mercy.
0 listeners. And I had money in the bank before Apple said, yes, you can go live.
Okay, now wait. Now you got to spill some beans on this. You didn't tell me this stuff. You had 0 people listening. Let me get this. Let me drop this again in case y'all are going to get a cup of coffee or something. Y'all need to pay attention. Yeah, 0 listeners, and you had already monetized. How the did you do that?
Well, like I mentioned, I had somebody who I was working with. So I worked with a podcasting coach
Okay.
who helped me to understand that I could monetize before Apple said yes. And I was like, oh, really? How?
The very critical question.
Right? And I did it in two ways. I had money in the bank from
Mhm.
two different sources
Okay.
in two different ways. First thing was I offered the opportunity for every one of my guests to sponsor their episode,
Yes.
right? Sponsor
Mhm.
their episode. Podcasting is not free. My time is not free. I'm putting you in front of my audience. And guess what?
Yep.
Podcast listeners have been
Mhm.
well trained by other podcasters and also by Netflix and Hulu and DVD sales of TV shows. Because what happens when we find a show? We oftentimes go to the beginning. So, which of my episodes do you think are the most downloaded episodes? The first ones.
Love it.
The first 10, the first 15, the first 20 shows are the most downloaded episodes. Why? Because people go back to the beginning because they want to see how it all started. Now, once you get to a
Nice.
certain point and you have a certain number of episodes, let's say over 100, well, then people get a little more choosy because then they're scrolling and scrolling and
Right.
scrolling and scrolling. So it's not as much true when you've been around for a long time. But the benefit is if somebody has just gotten started in podcasting, their first few episodes are their most downloaded episodes because people go all the way back to the beginning. So you may as
Mm.
well get people to sponsor their episode because they're going to be featured for the entirety of the time that your podcast is available online.
Yeah.
So the
It's
key is,
evergreen.
yeah, the key is to make the offer. And here's what I did that was the
Mm.
smartest thing ever. I put it on an application, a form that people filled out because I was like, look, I'm trying to build a business. I don't have time to chase you down for your headshot, your
Mhm.
expertise, all of your social media links, whatever. You know all that stuff. And either I can go find it and pick whatever the hell picture I want off of Facebook of you,
Mhm.
or you can show me which picture you want me to use. You can send me which social media links
Mhm.
you want me to use. Otherwise, I'm going to put out there whatever the hell I want to. So I had the form set up, and one of the
Mhm.
questions on there was like, would you like to sponsor your episode? Here's what sponsorship includes. And then I lay it out for people and show them what they're going to get with a sponsored episode versus a free episode.
And tell us just a few of those things that you lay out, and how much is it then for the sponsoring? What is their investment? Give us an idea
Right.
of that.
Absolutely. So sponsorships on podcasts can range in pricing from when I first started, my I had two options. My first sponsorship was $35
Yeah,
because
with
I had,
something though,
yeah, I
with
had
something.
a $15 a month Zoom account that I was
Yeah,
paying for.
right?
I wanted a little money for a better microphone, so I
Yeah,
did this, and you know what? So I'm not saying I'm like rolling in it, but I had money in the bank, and $35 is more than some podcasters have ever made on their show.
exactly. I mean, and if
Ever.
you put it at, like, 59 or something like that, if you put
Right.
it under $100, it's a no-brainer, isn't it, you
It's
know?
a no-brainer, and you know what? And it is no longer $35 to sponsor an
Yes.
episode on my show,
Aha.
because
How much is
when
it
you've
now?
when you've been around for this long, and especially when you're the
Mhm,
number 1 in your category, which I
mhm.
am, for the
Woohoo!
for the base sponsorship. Now, I don't make people pay to be on my show, right? Because I want good content. I wanna have
Yeah.
great conversations, and some people just aren't a good fit to sponsor the episode
Mhm.
anyway, right? Which is fine. So, because I have other ways of making money. But the sponsorships now for me are $97 for the base starter
Mhm.
sponsorship, which just basically includes extra promotion the week that their episode goes live.
Mhm.
It also guarantees that they're going to get promoted more like later, because anybody who pays goes on a special list of, oh, Jennie doesn't have an episode this week, so let's pick one of our sponsored episodes. So then they get posted out
Mm.
again
Again.
as a new
Mhm.
episode. It's not, or it's a replay of a classic episode.
There you
But
go.
the sponsored ones get picked for that, right?
Mhm.
Not the free ones,
Smart. Yes,
right?
very smart.
And there are a few other things that I include as a feature of being one of
Mhm.
my sponsored guests, right? So, one of the things that I talk about is the exposure to my audience, because now I have
Uh-huh.
followers of over 12,000 amongst my different social media platforms. And that is growing because when you're the number one network marketer, network marketing podcast, you get more people who follow you.
Okay, wait, let me
So,
pause you. Whoop,
yeah,
whoop. Can I pause you? Can I be
yeah,
rude and
do
interrupt
it.
just for a second? Because I gotta ask this. So which networks are you on the most? Like, where do you have all these followers? Just give people an idea of that.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I go where my potential ideal client is.
Yep.
So I'm on Facebook
Yep.
a lot, a lot, a
Mhm.
lot. Uh, my
LinkedIn.
assistant posts on Instagram for me.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
I I don't spend a lot of time there because
I
not a
don't
lot of my
either.
clients are there. Um, I'm on LinkedIn. We post on
Yep.
LinkedIn.
That's a great
I have
one.
over 5,000 followers on LinkedIn and still
Uh-huh.
growing. Um, and then, or sorry, 3,000. We're at 3,000 for
Mhm.
LinkedIn. And then, I'm also on TikTok.
Go
That one is
girl.
my fun place. So I'm on TikTok.
Mhm.
But I have multiple channels, multiple platforms on Facebook that I can post to, because I've got multiple businesses, multiple whatever. So I promote in all these different places.
And you're in communities, I'm sure, right?
Oh,
So you
yeah.
can
And
promote in the
groups.
business communities, the groups that you're in.
Yes.
I tend to call them communities. That's how I talk about mine. By the
Yeah.
way, y'all can join, right? It's called Women in Business Make It Happen. Just look that up on Facebook and you can join if you're a woman, or if you're a super supportive guy, you can join. But it's a community that we're after, and people love that kind of information because absorbing a podcast or listening to this, even some people won't look at us, they're missing out, aren't they?
That's fine. And they're gonna
They're
miss
just
out on my
missing
cute
out,
little kitty
y'all.
cat over
You
here.
can't see the cat, the wise cat,
I
in
know.
honor of the Halloween season, right?
Yes.
It is the
He's
close to
my
the season
familiar.
of Halloween. It's so cute. He's actually falling asleep like a horse with sitting up.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
never seen a cat fall asleep like that.
Oh,
That's
he
pretty
does it
intense.
all the time. He's used to it. Like, I've trained him. So, yes, proof that cats are trainable. I've trained him to sit up there so that way he doesn't walk past me and do the whole tail under my nose thing
Oh,
and then
yes.
get me
That's
like,
just not, yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Or walk across your keyboard and knock you off this, broadcast. I've had
right.
that happen. Not fun, not fun. Or
Yeah,
sit
not
down
good.
on your shift key, and suddenly, you're putting stuff
All
in the
kinds of things
chat
are
that
happening.
people are like, "What's wrong with her? Why is she putting Zizu
Yeah.
Bola Zuzu Pizza in the chat?" Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I love what you're saying. Okay, so by the way, you all, you gotta know how many followers you have, and you just reminded me, I need to go in and update mine. I need to go in and update my little thing that I use when I
Right.
go on podcasts to tell people how many followers I have,
Yeah.
and when they come on here. So you gotta know how many you have. But
Yeah.
thanks for telling us those places where you are, and I think those are the most important. Like, Twitter is pretty much, you're not on Twitter, are you?
No, I never have been,
No,
but
no.
mostly because back when Twitter first started, it was 140 characters. I was like, "You think you
Yes.
can contain me to 140 characters?"
All you can
You're
do is put, like, an episode URL and then say, you make it shorter with Bitly, and then you put an episode
Right.
URL and say, "Don't
Mm-mm.
fricking miss this, dodos," and then
Yeah.
see who,
It
but,
was
you know
nothing. Yeah, so
yeah,
and my people, I know where my tribe is, my tribe, my
yeah,
ideal potential clients, they just aren't on Twitter. I mean,
yeah,
there might be a few, but really they aren't. They just
yeah,
aren't. They're I know where my people are, so that's where I go and post. I don't have to be ubiquitous. I don't have well, I mean, I am
Yep, yep, yep,
ubiquitous
yep.
to them, but I'm
Yeah.
not truly ubiquitous because I'm not everywhere. I mean,
Are you
there's
on
social media, but I'm not
Pinterest?
I'm aware of Pinterest. I don't I
I
mean,
don't
my
do much
people
on
are
it at all, but it is a lot of women over there on Pinterest, and so,
yeah.
I've got my VA, posting on Pinterest too, but like you, I don't do a lot on Insta and Pinterest. This is just for you all really get the point that Jenny's laying down, which is you gotta know how many followers you have, but you also need to be in the places where your ideal client hangs out. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta be where they are.
Absolutely. You gotta be where
Otherwise,
they are.
yeah,
And
you
and
gotta be
that's
where they
where
are.
you've gotta be posting your show because
Yep.
one of the other ways that you monetize your show is through your audience, right? Making
Yes.
offers to your audience. So, one of the ways that I continue going on with the monetization conversation is I actually monetize through my audience as well. I let them know what I have coming up, whether it's a free
Mhm.
webinar or, you know, a $27, workshop or a $49 or $97 master class. But because you're my audience, I'll give you a
Mhm.
coupon code that gets you in for 49, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, right? It's I'm monetizing through those ways as well, seeing who shows up because podcasting, one of the downsides of it
Mhm.
is you have no idea who your audience is until they step forward, raise their hand and step into the spotlight by signing up for one of your things, buying a ticket to one of your things, sending
Commenting.
you an email, contacting you, making you friend, becoming friends with you on one of the platforms or something. And then but also they have to like reach out and let you know, like, oh my God, I listened to your show. So in 4 years, I've had a few people do that, and some people actually go and because I do have an ad that runs fairly regularly on my show that says, hey, because you're a listener of the show, I want to offer you complimentary coaching session. So
Mm.
get on my calendar. Here's the link to do it. And I make it really easy. Thank you, Rob Goyette, for that little nugget of knowledge. Like, I gotta say, having Rob Goyette sit at your dining room table and just go, how can I help you? What can I do?
He's great. I love his laser coaching model. I use it actually too. I did his
Right.
course in that, and it was fantastic, and, I it
Yeah.
just I love the whole model of 15-minute coaching sessions and the unlimited
Mhm.
per year. So, y'all, I have a special thing like that for those of you who like
Or
the
over there.
wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, like, we just get in there and we give you a homework and off you go. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, it's a quick and easy way to help people get some advancement though, for sure.
Yeah.
So I get people, audience members who reach out to me from time to time or they book on my complimentary coaching session. I have it set up talkwithjennieb.com. People can get on my calendar and say,
Nice.
"Hey, I want to have a conversation with you." And I have it just redirect to my Calendly. It's fan freaking tastic. I didn't have to
Yep.
build a whole pretty website. Calendly did it for me. It's
Yeah, it's done.
great.
Just give them the
It's
link.
done, right? Just come have a conversation, right? So we're monetizing through sponsoring, we're monetizing through our audience. But here's the
Mhm.
thing, I didn't monetize through my audience because remember, I told you one of the ways that I monetized was with no people. So the other way that I monetized is I used my guest seat,
Mm.
meaning I went, okay, who do my audience want to hear from? They want to hear from other direct sales people who
Mhm.
are further along the path than they are. So, one of the requirements that I have set for my guest seat is if you're not a speaker, author, or coach. So, if you're someone who's in the direct sales or network marketing industry, you have to have been in the industry. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have been with the
Mhm.
same company. It can be 2 or 3 different
Mhm.
companies over the course of the time, but they have to be in for at least 5 years. And I set that requirement because the Federal Trade Commission has tracked this for decades now. And they know that 90% of people who start in direct sales are in and out of the business in 5 years or less. So I want to
Yeah.
talk to the 10% in the hopes of growing
Yes.
the 10% to an 11% and then maybe someday 12%. Wouldn't it be great, right? So I'm only talking to 5%ers, right? Or the 10%ers who've been in for 5 years or more, right? So these are people who've had enough success that they've
I thought you were going to say enough
enough
sex.
sex. Well, hey, if
Well,
you have
what
enough sex,
did
you're
y'all hear
probably
that? Enough
successful.
sex. These people have had enough sex. Y'all have to watch that great interview I did of Liz Bull where she talks about your sex drive is your secret saboteur in business. Go look it up.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
I
go to
can
the
believe
channel,
that.
Dr. Bonsley Brown, and while y'all there, subscribe. Don't forget. I always
Yes.
forget to ask people to subscribe.
Oh,
Y'all
yeah.
subscribe on my YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so they had enough sex to have
Yes.
success, and then
They've had enough time to have success. They've had enough success that they've stayed in longer, right?
yeah,
They're already showing consistency and persistence in the
yep.
business, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, those are the people that they want to hear from. Those are the people that probably at some point are hitting an obstacle and maybe want to talk to a coach. So that makes sense. So why don't I put those people in the guest seat, have a conversation? Because what used to happen pre-podcast is I'd reach out to people on social media, whether it was Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and be like, "Oh my God, girl, it looks like I did the hey girl right back at them."
Hey, girl.
Yeah, hey girl, looks like you're totally killing it in your business. Like, this is amazing. Can I offer you a complimentary coaching session to see if we can tweak it and take you further, farther, faster? And like 2%, or sorry, 2 people out of 10 would respond back. And one of them would be like, no thanks. And one of them would be like, oh my God, yeah, sure. I would love a free coaching session. Well, as soon as they say free, I'm like, ah, shit. They're not going to be
Yeah,
willing to pay, right?
right. Yeah,
Because people who use free know, like, you as a coach should know already. They're like, they don't see value in it
that's their
because people,
mentality. Yeah,
yes, their mentality is free, not complimentary. Those are
yeah.
two very different things, right? So, um, but then once I started the podcast, now when I reach out to people and go, oh my gosh, it looks like you're really killing a business. Congratulations on earning the trip or what, like, I can bring up a specific thing that they've done, an achievement, and be like, hey, I have a podcast that's all about direct sales and network marketing. Would you like to come be featured on the show since you just earned the trip, earned a promotion, whatever it is that they just posted about? And they're like, oh my God, really? I've never been on a podcast before. I would love to be on a podcast. Great. Come on over. Come on in.
See,
Like,
now you are brave because they're newbies.
yeah.
But you're a great interviewer, and so it doesn't matter. Let me just say, when you have a podcast, you need to be a freaking great interviewer. It's like when you're dancing with somebody and you're leading, you need to
Yeah.
make them look great. Same way in a podcast, you're here to make your guest look absolutely
Bam.
sparkling.
Yes. But here's the thing I do want to pose out there for people who are thinking about a podcast. Like, don't let the interviewing piece like freak you out because we all sucked at the beginning. I'm telling you right now, if you go back and listen to my first 10 episodes, they are nowhere near as good, near as fun as the ones that are happening now.
Okay, wait, now
Because
I know what I'm
I've
gonna do while I have a glass of Prosecco tonight. I'm gonna be watching, I'm gonna be like,
oh my
all this
God,
love.
look at Jenny back then.
Yeah, but then you just go look at mine and you'll feel better.
Yeah. Well, here's what's great. Mine are not on video because my podcast is audio only, with the
Yeah.
exception of I just did my very first video podcast.
Yay!
But
What are you laughing?
that's because we were naked. We
In the
record
video podcast?
we recorded the entire thing naked we were totally naked, but from the chest up is what you could see of us, but we were both naked when we
Oh
recorded.
my god! That's awesome. All
It
right,
was
so
great.
do
Anyway,
you don't get blacklisted for that, I guess.
no, because nothing got seen. I mean, YouTube hasn't taken it down yet,
Look,
and it's my
that
most popular
I bet
video
it's
on
your
my
most
channel.
popular one. What a way to do it. I mean, I've done stuff in like a mask on my face, but I've never done that. It's like naked podcasting. I like it. I like it. I think you're starting a trend.
Oh, please do. Talk to my friend Steph, who is the person who I interviewed who was naked. Steph is,
That was her idea? Was
well,
that Steph's idea?
she's a naked healer.
Oh, okay, now I understand. Because I was just like, well, you know, I used to laugh and say I should do something like naked Reiki just because people would pay attention. You know,
Yeah.
if you say naked Reiki, they'd be like, "What?"
What?
Um,
Oh,
but so
yeah.
she's a naked healer.
She's a
Okay, so that
naked
makes
healer.
perfect sense.
She
So
helps people
she
through
told you
their
you had to be
stuff.
naked too.
Well, she didn't tell me because no one tells the Dom what to do, and in fact, I asked her, I was like,
You
"Can
were probably
can"
already naked.
I said, "Can we do" well, when we booked it, right? When I found out what
That's
she did, I was like,
hilarious.
"This is amazing." I was like, "Okay, question for you. Can we do it naked and record the video? Like, just from here up, but can we do it?" And she was like,
That's awesome.
"Yeah. Oh my god."
That is
So,
the
by the way,
best.
be willing to step out of your comfort zone on podcasting because it does help. So,
And that
anyway,
was your
we
first
digress.
video one. Well, look, you didn't just step out of your comfort zone. You were like, "Well, let me just catapult out."
Oh, we swan dived right off the cliffs of Acapulco with that one.
Y'all just I don't know what you did, but you took like, you put the astronauts to shame on that one. Or any alien UFO people coming down here or aliens coming down, you just like, I'm
Yeah,
out to
forget
another
that.
galaxy.
People
That
don't
is
care
such
about
a great
aliens, they
story.
wanna see naked.
Yeah, for them, it's like, "Oh, those stupid humans. Oh my god, they're so
Right,
ugly. They're so
right.
ugly. They
So
think they're
weird,
they're not green.
so weird. I
They
know,
have
right?
no antenna. They're so ugly." Anyway, how did we get on this? But you all can
Yes.
see why I said that Jenny's a badass, right? Like, how cool is that? So you're gonna do your first video podcast after you've had the audio one for ages. You have, like, what, over
Yeah.
300 episodes or something?
2 we're over well, officially, I have 220
Yeah,
total episodes.
amazing.
But, a number of them are considered bonus episodes because that's one of the things my top tier of sponsorship, you get to pick when your episode comes out. So, if you want your
Oh.
episode to come out at a certain time because they've got a launch coming
Yeah,
up or whatever, and especially if they're gonna affiliate, then you do something special by releasing it on a non-traditional release date, right? So that's
nice.
one of the things that I offer is like, "Hey, if you wanna come out on a specific date, the only way I can guarantee that is if you pay me.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you go to the back of the line like
right.
everybody else." So,
So if somebody has
what
a
they're
launch coming up or they wanna have this be part of it, or maybe they wanna use it for a lead magnet, whatever they wanna use it for, then
yeah,
they get to dictate, but they also get to,
they
you know,
gotta fork it over
talk
for
it
that.
over,
So,
baby.
that's part of the monetization strategy is
Nice.
you get to pick the date that it comes out. Now, if they want it to come out on a particular, like, normal day that I release, so I release on Mondays. So if they want it to come out on a Monday because they have a launch happening that week and they want it to be early in the week, not later in the week, that's fine too.
Yeah,
I don't care when you pick the date as long as somebody else hasn't already picked it, right? So it's first come, first serve. You pay more, you
and
get
they
more of
pick
the
it and
options
they reserve it.
and
That's
they
your
get to
wording. They
reserve
make you
that is
reserve
now
it. It's
their
your
date.
VIP. Mm,
No other podcast no other episodes will be
yep,
released on that day. Now, I
yep,
might have other bonus episodes that release before or after, but not on that. That's your day. You get
yep.
all of the downloads for that day, and my assistant will promote you like crazy, like
Awesome.
crazy.
Oh, yes, I remember getting that, and it was so fabulous, and I even thought about doing it, and then I had a squirrel, squirrel, but, it was really nicely laid out and what you offered, so everybody, I want you to hear, okay, there are many ways you can monetize. We've got
Mhm.
sponsorship, you've got, like, the deluxe sponsorship, so you have a couple of different ones. You
Yep,
can well, we haven't talked about affiliate partners yet, but you can
of
also
course.
make offers to your audience, so
Yeah.
every every single podcast should have a CTA, a call to action, and those can be monetary things, like you give them a special discount code for something that you're doing.
Right.
And so that's another way. Well, let's talk about affiliates. How about that one?
Yes. Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely. So that is one of the ways that I have been monetizing for about 3 of the 4 years that I've had the
mhm,
podcast now. Is a number of my guests have an affiliate program that they
mhm,
can sell to my audience, and it usually starts with some sort of free giveaway, obviously.
mhm,
But now, because my audience clicked on the link that coach, author, speaker gave me, so that we know that they came from my audience, so when that
mhm,
person goes on to buy a ticket to a workshop, or a 3-day retreat, or they buy into their
mhm.
6-month coaching program or whatever, then money magically shows up in my PayPal.
Yeah, beautiful,
And I
beautiful.
already did the work for it. I had one conversation, posted a link in the show notes. Somebody went and clicked on it and went further down the path with the person who was right for them.
I love that.
It's
I'm starting to do
fantastic.
this too, Jenny. It was Chuck Anderson. I've got an episode that was with Chuck about this. And, he really helped me figure out, I need a free webinar. I need a free workshop. I really don't like the
Yeah.
word webinar, but a free workshop or play shop in which people get to come. So I'm having my first one on November 30th. Woohoo! And it's
Nice.
called,
Good.
let's see, what do we call it? Stop struggling in your business. The 5 little known action stoppers that are destroying your business. Destroying.
Mm,
I have to say it like
destroy.
that. Anyway, so I'm very
Yeah.
excited about that. And see, the thing is, like, especially if somebody has an affiliate link and you're sending them to a free webinar, that's a no brainer. You're providing value to your audience. And
Yeah.
then, should they decide that they want to go into something that's a paid program, like you said, it'll track it and,
Yeah.
something will be sent to you. And maybe you don't want to, I just had a talk with somebody last week. Maybe you don't want to accept that. Maybe you feel like that's something wrong with accepting it. Well, you can give it to charity. You can split it with the person, whatever. But,
I do
it's,
not feel bad about it at all, because
yeah.
here's the thing. When I see affiliate programs and that those kinds of things as a win, win, win,
Yes.
right? The client, my listener,
Yep.
found the coach that they needed, found the person that they thought that they think is a fit for them. They are happy they found that person. First win. Second win, my guest got a client. So
Yes.
they're happy, right?
Yes.
And those 2 people never would have met without my show. I'm okay
It's
with
it's
accepting this,
beautiful.
because now this isn't just a win-win. This is a win-win-win. It
Yes.
doesn't get any better than a win-win-win. Like, why
Exactly.
not? It's I got to be the conduit through which 2 people, and their way of saying thank you was money showed up in my account. I'm okay with this. I'm more than okay with this. I'm grateful. Yes, universe, please send more money into my PayPal
Let's send it
account.
in. And
Right? I'm
I
welcoming
think
it
that
in.
I think the big thing too is that when you choose affiliates, make sure you know those people well, right? Make sure there's a
Right.
relationship, and it's not just somebody that said, "Oh, I want to be your affiliate," and you don't know anything about them. Get people around you that
Yeah.
you've spent some time with, and that
Right.
you like
Absolutely.
what they do. Maybe you've been on their show, or they've been on your show, or y'all have been in a conference together, or you've whatever, you've been to networking and you've met each
Go
other
and
through
spend
networking.
7 days on a cruise ship together.
Exactly. Wonder who that could be. Woohoo. Guess where you going, y'all? Y'all are seeing this right while we are going to be on the podcasters cruise, cruising around for me, poor you, Jenny,
I
cruising to
know.
Puerto Rico, cruising to Grand Turk. And where's the other one? I forgot. What's the third one?
St. Thomas and Dominican Republic.
I didn't know we were going to
Mhm.
St. Thomas. Really?
I believe
Oh,
so. I'll have to double check the
I think you got to
itinerary.
double check that. I don't know. I'm not remembering Dominican Republic either, but maybe, yeah, maybe we are Dominican Republic. Yes. So,
Yeah.
and the beautiful thing is there are going to be over 50 podcasters on there. So, what do you think is going to be happening? We're going to be creating affiliate relationships. We're going to be supporting
Mhm.
each other, promoting each other. We're going to be doing show swaps and platform swaps.
Yep.
Again, you all, it may not be direct monetization in some ways, but when you're on somebody's show, for example, I just had somebody, Jenny, on a few weeks ago, and it was one of my friends who I haven't seen in a long time, listened in, and she got a new client worth over $3,000 with ongoing 500 a month. How beautiful is that from one listener? So all it takes is the right match being there and someone
Yeah.
listening. But also I promoted, and that's how this person saw it, and so it depends on how we are, we want to choose affiliates who are also influencers, who are also memorable, who are known, you know, and
Right.
who are out there doing
Well,
the
and
work and being
you
visible.
want you also preferably want to have somebody who serves the same audience, but
Exactly.
they do so in a different way, right?
Hmm.
So one of you might be a mindset coach, one of you is a process coach, one of, whatever it may be, right? Like find the people who serve the same ideal client that you do, but do so in a different way,
Hmm.
because then they're going, "Oh, right." So for me, some of my best affiliate partners and referral partners are actually tax accountants.
Hmm.
Why? Now, I don't always have them on the show because taxes are boring. But I do have them from time to time. And I
Yeah,
have, I have accountants who thank me for sending them clients by sending me nice little rewards every once in a while because they ended up doing taxes for somebody that they wouldn't have met otherwise, except that they were on the show to talk about, what receipts can you keep, what can't you keep when you're in direct sales and network marketing, right?
exactly.
It's little things like that. And for me, I try to find the people who, again, I'm not going to do your taxes. I don't want to be a tax expert. I'm not studying tax codes so that you can know what receipts
You
you can
aren't,
keep and
Jenny?
not keep.
You aren't? You aren't going to bring that on the cruise and
No,
study tax law?
no. You don't want me doing that. Trust me. I did my taxes one time when I was 23 years old. I swore I'm never
Oh,
doing
no.
them again.
I've never
I'm
done my
never do
taxes ever, ever, ever.
I don't stress about much, but I freaked the F out. I don't know if I can
Yeah,
curse on here,
yeah,
but
you can.
okay, I freaked the fuck out when I
Yeah,
did my
your
taxes.
taxes.
I have never been more stressed out in my entire life than when I did my
Mm,
own taxes, and I've
mm.
given natural childbirth, okay? I was more stressed about taxes than I was about that because
Yeah,
I was like, "What if I put this in the wrong place and they
yeah,
come and get me and because I was 23, I didn't know. I was like,
yeah.
"I'm gonna go to jail. This is gonna be awful." Like, I was terrified. I was terrified, and so I swore I'm never, ever, ever, ever doing this again. So, I love working with tax accountants because I assume everybody else feels the same way
Right, and
about taxes. I
you
don't
need
wanna
to
do
have
it.
an accountant for your business, whatever kind of
Yeah,
business you have, whether it's direct sales or just, a solopreneur, whatever you are, you've got to have a tax person. And it
yeah,
actually does, if they're really good at what they do, it provides you a measure of security because
yeah.
basically you can then you know you should
Right.
have audit protection with it. Hopefully
And
your tax person provides that.
you've got somebody who is now looking at a big overview of your business for the
Yep.
whole year, and then they can say, "Oh, by the way, it looks like, based on this, maybe you wanna think about spending your money here for this or doing that." Like, so the really good ones will actually strategize with you
Yes.
to make sure that you are doing the best, right? And we have totally got I just realized, I was like, "We're supposed to be talking about podcasting."
It doesn't matter though, because this is about
Monetization.
monetization too, because truthfully, you all, monetizing
Mhm.
your podcast, here's another way you can monetize your podcast. You get a kick freaking ass tax person who's gonna help you take
Yeah.
all the tax write-offs you can. All right.
Yeah.
Because then that is going to actually count. So it is about
Right.
monetization. You're just
Yes.
going to hold on to more of what you have and think about it this way. Kitty just got up. He's awake. Wake up, Kitty. So think about it this way. You've got these things coming in, the sponsorships, and some of this coming in, and maybe you're selling some ad time, or you're letting other people
Wow.
sponsor episodes, whatever. You have a product you endorse. I've seen people at the end of their
Yeah.
podcast endorse a product that is in
Mhm.
alignment with their message. So those are all ways to do it, but you need to have a tax person who's going to say, look, did you take XYZ equipment off? Hey, look, did you realize you can take this off? Hey, look, did you realize the podcaster's cruise is a tax write-off because you're going to be doing professional education,
Yep.
development the whole time, and networking the whole time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so hours and hours of professional development actually in a, maybe over a margarita or two, but you're going to be doing that work.
Yeah.
And so that is about monetization too. You got to have an excellent tax person who understands the ins and outs of podcasting, and the
Right.
ins and outs of having a small business. I cannot stress this enough. I fired, how many people was it? 3 before I finally got the guy I have now.
Oh,
And,
wow.
it was because I knew more than they did. Like, I knew about per diems when I was traveling. I could take a per diem instead of keeping my receipts, and it worked out better in terms of the tax write-off for food while I was traveling and giving presentations, stuff like that.
There you
I
go.
mean, people should know that.
Yeah.
But so you gotta choose your tax person to be somebody who knows about podcasting and what's involved
Yes.
there.
Or at least knows, small business, knows,
Yeah,
all of that, and can help you make sure that your podcast is a part of your business, because it does
right.
become, my podcast is a division of Badass Direct Sales Mastery, which is my
Mhm,
coaching business, right? But here's
mhm.
what's funny. It started as my podcast. My podcast was named that first, and it attracted so many people. I got rid of my first coaching brand and switched completely over to the Badass brand,
Isn't that cool? I love
because
that.
it became huge. People were saying you're the badass coach.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. I'm the badass coach. Which when I started my original coaching brand, was Level Up Coaching. I
Bleh.
can tell you right now that, I mean, it's a good name,
It's
but here's the
okay.
thing, it's so good that 49 other people have registered it as an
Exactly.
LLC in 49 other states.
Yeah.
So it's not unique at all, which isn't a bad thing, because really there's only 49 others. There's 50 of you in the world who are
But
Level
it's
Up
so bland.
Coaching, right? So it's not fun, but here's the thing, by the way, if anybody wants to buy my domain, I'm selling the Level Up Coach LLC domain. It is the #1 Google search result right now. So if you have a business called Level Up Coaching and you want the #1 Google search when you,
Position. Yeah.
yeah, I will sell it to you. Just reach out to me. Let's have a talk. So why not
Yeah.
throw it out there, right?
Throw it out.
And if I sell it through Dr. Barnsley Brown's show, I'll give her a little kickback.
She'll have to
Don't
buy me
worry.
some margaritas on the cruise.
I
There you
will.
go. Pictures on
Absolutely.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? That is so interesting. This is something that I encountered, okay? Because my VA, was sending her, she said, "Oh, send me your logo." Well, actually, my business is called Spirited Solutions, right? And it does make
Oh,
sense to me because of the dove of spirit and so forth. But really, uh, you know, the badass resonates more with who I am now, right?
right.
And I've never really been known for Spirited Solutions. It was just my overarching thing for Reiki and
Right.
business coaching and presentations. And so what I said to her is, and she's working on something, a backdrop for us on StreamYard. And I said, well, look, no, I don't want you to use this logo because it's so unimportant. People won't even know what it is, but just use
Mhm.
the branding colors, right? For now.
Right.
Use the branding colors and the same kind of typeface and see what you can come up with for bold, badass business owner show.
Mhm.
So she's working on that now. But when you do shift over, you all, if you do shift over, make sure that you keep your colors consistent and the visual look of
Yeah.
your brand consistent, or it looks like you've suddenly stopped doing one thing and started another. And you look
Right.
like one of these serial entrepreneurs who's always doing a new thing every freaking
Eh,
year and never
well,
making good money at it.
luckily, the one thing that is consistent between my 2 brands is I bet you can't guess. Like, look at
Got
me, and
purple
I
hair.
right? It's the purple, right?
Yeah.
My other logo had purple.
Yeah.
People have always known me for
Yeah.
purple, so that's always been consistent. It's part of my podcast logo colors, and that particular brand, purple, is everywhere on my site. Now it's not like a grape went and threw up all over my website or anything, but it the brand has stayed consistent and it has continued through that piece. But really the podcast ended up like informing my
Yeah.
new
Love
business
that.
model and really attracting, because it has become the not only the magnet to attract the right people to me, but it also
Mhm.
repels the people who are not my client away,
Yes.
you know? And so, because if somebody looks at my podcast, so for those of you who have not done the research on my show yet or wondering why I'm called Jennie the Domme Bellinger, it's because my podcast is Badass Direct Sales Mastery. Badass Direct Sales Mastery, the acronym is BDSM. I'm the direct sales dom who helps women whip their business into shape, right? So now I don't actually whip anybody. I never really have. So we're whipping
It's a
businesses, not
metaphor.
people,
It's a
right?
metaphor.
It's a metaphor, right? But what's interesting is podcasting is for on the listener side, like I mentioned before, it's totally anonymous. I have no idea who my listeners are until they stand up and tell me that they listen.
Yeah.
It's completely anonymous. Nobody knows you're listening, but if someone looks at my podcast art and they are clutching their pearl saying, "I could never,"
I
you
could
are
never watch this
I
woman.
I could
Oh,
never
my
listen to
land.
this. We
My
are
land.
not I know, right? We are not aligned, and I'm okay with that, right? Because if you're not
Yep.
gonna step out of your comfort zone far enough to listen to a show,
Yes.
we are not aligned. I
Right, and
can't
if you're
help
going
you.
to be offended because somebody curses on my show, and I curse sometimes, like that show I did with you, Jenny, I think I said the F word more than I've said it in probably a year. We were having a lot of fun. You
We
know,
did.
Tony
That's the
Robbins,
F word
if
she
Tony
talked about.
Robbins can do it, we can too. That's all I have to say. I was channeling some Tony Robbins. But
Yeah.
truthfully, we do like you say, I love what you're saying. When you think about monetization, don't worry that you're repelling people who aren't going to get it anyway. They're not going to like your purple hair. They're not going to like, I don't know, whatever. They're not going to like my red crazy jewelry, or they're not going to like the fact that you're sassy and, you know, they're not going to like that stuff. Well, they're not your right client. They're not my right client. And just let them go, because the
No.
people who love you, it does not have to be a huge, huge, huge group. They're going to be
No.
devoted.
Oh
They're
my
going to be
gosh.
devoted.
So, I'm really hoping that this is the first time some people are hearing about this, but there is an article out there on the internet that came out, I think, in 2008, and I recommend it to people all the time because this is what I am working towards,
Yeah.
is 1,000 raving fans.
Mhm.
Like, go to Google and type in 1,000 raving fans article, and you'll see it referenced a bunch of different places, but see if you can find the original article. But because in a nutshell, what it says is if you can get 1,000 raving fans who spend $100 per year with you, you just had a six-figure year.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when you can get 1,000 raving fans on your podcast, which means you really need to have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 regular subscribers, because only a portion of them are going to be raving
Listening.
fans sharing you with their going, "Oh my God, are you
Yeah.
listening to Badass Direct Sales Mastery? You're not listening to Badass Direct Sales Mastery. What's wrong with you? You need to listen to that," right? You want those people, because those people who, when you make an offer and say, "Hey, come to my
They're going to come.
2-hour workshop that's normally $97 for $49, you offer it to them
Yep.
twice a year, they just spent $100 with you.
Yep. Love it. And let's
Right.
take those numbers and since we're talking about monetization,
Yeah.
let's do those numbers a different way. Let's take that one person who came on my guest, who was a guest one time on my podcast, and then generated this thing that's going to create over a year, uh, just 1 year, $9,000 of income for her. All right. So let's say we had 11 of those people.
Right.
How much is that from one episode? That's $99,000 right there. All right, y'all do the math. So if you have a higher ticket offer and you have those raving fans, and let's say you bring them into a one-on-one enrollment conversation, you bring them into your high ticket offer, and let's say your high ticket offer is 10K or more, as my Make It Happen mastermind is.
Yeah.
How many does it take you to have 100,000 a year? It's not much.
It's not much at all, right?
It's not much
It's
at all.
definitely doable. So when you can work towards those 1,000 raving fans, which is what I want,
Mhm.
there's 8 billion people on earth. I have 8 billion people to get the podcast in front of to find 1,000 raving fans who absolutely adore the show and then start showing up to all the things. They come to all the
Mhm.
things. They, sign up for this ticket for this workshop, and some of them will transition into being a a membership client to my
Mhm.
membership. Some of
Yeah.
them will end up becoming coaching clients because they'll do that. Now, here's what's interesting. Some of my raving fans are seven-figure earners who are at the top of their organization, and they're
Mhm.
putting me in front of their audience by coming on and being
Beautiful.
on my show. So they have an organization. One of them has an organization of 15,000 women,
Wowza.
right? And I'm like, oh, and then I found out during the conversation, during the interview, she's been listening to my show. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got $1 million earner listening to my show. Like, I've got $1 million earner listening to my show. This must be real. Like, I knew it was good, but I'm biased, right? That's when you go, oh, right?
And then, yeah. And, truthfully, if you start looking at things, the way breaking it down and thinking about how many people would you really need who really used all the good stuff that you offer, the high ticket stuff, it ain't that many to
It's not
get
that
to a million.
many.
It
No.
ain't that many to get to a seven-figure business. I mean, it's totally, totally possible when people want to do that. I happen to be, okay, I'm going to admit it. I'm a little, not lazy, but I don't want to manage a huge organization.
Oh,
So,
see, I'm the opposite. I've already got my
yeah.
roadmap for a
Oh,
$10 million
girl, you
dollar
go.
coaching practice.
I
Because
like it.
here's the thing, my ultimate goal is impact. Right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
how do you measure impact? How do you do more impact? How do you change how the world
Mhm.
sees your industry? Because that's where I am. That's always been my mission. My mission is, well, it's on a little thing behind that picture that my kiddo painted, but my mission
Yeah.
is to positively impact over 100,000 direct sales moms.
Nice.
So that's through coaching, that's through the podcast, but I can't do that by myself at the rate at which I'm doing it, right? I'm not going to live that long.
Yeah.
So in order for that mission to become the case and to also change the way people view my industry, the direct sales and network marketing industry, I've got to have more people being more successful out there, having more of an impact
Yeah.
so that it becomes this thing that's no longer like where people roll their eyes when they hear that somebody in their network, their friendship, their friends,
Yeah.
their family, whatever, enrolled with a particular company or business, right? I want them to be like, they got into entrepreneurship. That's amazing. That's awesome, right? Instead of, oh God, here comes the sales pitch and blah, 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 right?
Exactly. And so many people don't make it in direct sales models.
Right.
It really, and it is one of the easiest ways to start a business, but you have to have incredible tenacity, just as you do
Yeah.
in any business. And there are a lot of people who get in and, like you say, in a year or two, they're out,
Yeah.
because they don't want to really put the work in. Well, I think that we can scale and it can be done in a simple way too.
Mhm.
There were definitely ways to do it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're just reminding me, um, you're just
It's not about
reminding me
it doesn't
that
have to be
maybe
any
I need
harder
to.
work.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
as you're going along, how are you building and scaling in a way that is um uh, sustainable, first of all, for the level of energy and your own capacity for you to do? And then at what point do you bring in people to do the other things that you don't
Yeah.
need to be doing, right? And I'm starting to get to that point. I'm starting to bring people in, and it started with my podcast. I've got an editing company that edits my
Mhm.
audio. I've got my podcast social media manager, Jazzy.
Mhm.
So she's out there doing stuff for me.
Mhm.
It's doing those kinds of things. The next thing is, and this is what I've already put out there to some of my network, is I'm now getting ready. I just certified my first coach. So I'm getting
Mhm.
ready to now start certifying classes of coaches who will work for Badass Direct Sales Mastery, who will go
Nice.
out and help make the impact because they're going to learn how to
Nice.
coach through my style, right? They're not going to coach the way I do because nobody will coach the way I do. And that's a good thing because these people will attract who they're supposed to attract, but then they don't have to build the website, do the podcast, do all the things that
Yeah.
I'm doing. They can just go out and make impact and
Yeah.
get paid to do it. That's how I'm looking to grow and build and scale and get to the point where we're doing a $10 million business coaching practice to make the kind of impact that we want to make in the industry that we know and love. And that's it.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
totally doable by certifying and having, having licensing them, et cetera,
Yes.
totally doable. Um, and, I think it's important, this discussion is important, like, to ask yourself when you want to have a podcast or you wanna have a show, ask yourself, "Well, how much do I really want to make from
Yeah.
it?" What would I like to
Yes.
make from it? And there are people definitely on YouTube who have, Patreon, they use Patreon. That's another way to
Mhm. That's
monetize,
another way to monetize,
another way to
absolutely.
monetize it. And then there's the YouTube version of Patreon. Patreon, by the way, you all, is like a subscription where people can give you $5 or $3 or $10 a month or whatever.
Mhm.
And then YouTube has its own version of that because I guess Patreon was taking the business away. But there's a guy, for example, on YouTube, it's Coffee with Mel. And he curates these nice videos that he finds about animals or they're funny or something cool. He curates these. And then at the end, he's like, and if you enjoyed this, how about, and he sends out an email, I think every day or whatever with these. My mom sends some of them to me. She follows him. And which is big because she's like
Yeah.
81, right? And then he says, "Oh, and you can buy Mel a cup of coffee, and there's this link so people can just give him $5." Well, think about that.
Hmm.
How many people you got giving him $5 in a I'd love to know that in a month, but I would
Mhm.
imagine he's got it there, so it must be working. Even if it was 1,000 people, that's
Yeah,
5,000 a month, right?
exactly. Just a little tip
$5.
jar here and there. Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, to be clear about what you're creating,
Yeah.
to be clear about what you wanna create, and then I would
Mhm.
say as a coach, work backwards. And
Yeah.
you've given us the ways that people can monetize, as you said, with 0 audience members.
0, right? I
Yep,
had money in
0.
the bank because I don't know that I ever explicitly said it, but one of the other ways that I monetized before Apple said yes was I used my guest seat, had a
Mhm,
conversation with somebody, interviewed. I think before I officially launched, I got 10 or 15 interviews in
mhm.
the vault, right? Ready
Yeah,
to go. And from that, I converted a number of them into coaching clients because now
love
suddenly people
it.
were willing to talk to me and they're like, "Oh, wait, what do you do?" And "Oh, how do you do that?" And "Oh, what would it look like to work with you?" And there you go, right? Now that was where I made a lot more money because like I said, my first sponsorship was $35.
Now, I love that. Okay, so
Right.
I gotta take back my comment about newbies that you gave earlier that I gave earlier, that you were reaching out to people who had just won an award or whatever in direct
Right.
sales, and you were saying, "Hey, I have this podcast. Would you like to be featured? Here's a link to apply."
Mhm.
Now, that's powerful because one of the things I do in my Make It Happen Mastermind, one of my promises to them is that I will get them booked. I will help them. They'd have to be really strange to not get booked after I recommend them, right?
Right.
They'd have to work hard not to be booked. But I will help them get at least 3 gigs during the
Hmm,
year,
good.
because I'm great at that. And I
Yeah.
know who's a good fit for what, and I can say, "You guys need to meet, you guys need to meet." And, it results in them having actually, it's more than 3 so far, so it's I should probably up that. But,
Yeah.
that is another thing that
Yeah.
you can be a kinda matchmaker for people,
Yeah.
and then they are like, "Oh, well, what do I do when I get on the podcast?" Well, I can help people with their presentation skills so they're ready. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are y'all
Well, one of the
listening?
yeah,
Yeah.
right, and not everybody needs to start a podcast to turn podcast appearances into money, right?
Right.
There are ways to do that, and so, I don't teach that. I will leave it to Barnsley if y'all wanna talk to her about how to do it, because I will teach you how to make money if you start your own show, but if you just wanna go be on shows, talk to Barnsley. But one of the things that I do, because I do love podcasting so much, is I do a podcast networking event once a quarter, where I bring
Nice.
together people who have shows. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a podcast. It can be like yours, where it's, a
Yeah.
LinkedIn Live or a YouTube show or whatever, but you have a platform by which you interview other people. And then I also bring together the people who want to get on shows.
Nice.
And we all get in the Zoom room at the same time. I facilitate the entire event, so it's fun as fuck. And we have a great time, learning about all these other shows that are out there that we didn't know existed. Podcast hosts book other podcast hosts. They book the guests who are in the room, and guests get to pitch themselves in breakout rooms to the hosts according to category, because we put them in breakout rooms according to category. And it's a really fun time, and it's a great way, and it's just my way, because I have so many people saying, "How do you have so many guests?" And then I have all the guests who are going, "How do I get on more shows?" And I'm like, just get in a Zoom room with a podcast host, and 9 times out of 10, they're gonna book you if you're halfway decent at pitching yourself, you
I
know?
love it. So where can they find out about that? When is the next one?
Yes, the next one is in December. I don't remember the
Woohoo!
exact date off the top of my head, but I
But
know
where
it's
do
in
they go?
December.
Give everybody
Yeah.
your website.
It is badassdirectsalesmastery.com, and then just click on the events, and it's in there. It's a $10 ticket, and I do that just to make sure people show up, because free
Yeah.
has no value. So if you spend $10 to show up, please, because this is gonna be your podcast bookings for 2024. You could potentially meet enough podcast hosts to get you on a show per month.
So you all,
Easily.
badassdirectsalesmastery.com,
Yep.
badassdirectsalesmastery.com. Jenny, we always do this. Do you realize it's already 1 hour? We've been going for
Over
an
an
hour,
hour.
and we could be
We
on
gotta
here for
stop. I gotta
we
go
gotta
make
stop,
dinner.
we gotta stop, we gotta stop.
I gotta
So,
go.
what do you have that you can, what do you wanna offer everybody? Like your freebie or some fun thing that you've got
Yeah.
available? What do you have that you wanna offer
I
real quick?
do. What I would love to offer is a podcast monetization conversation. So it's
Woo!
20 minutes to just talk about whether if you already have a show, let's talk. And I can help you come up with a couple of different, very specific ways that you could monetize your show. It's a 20-minute conversation, short and sweet. If you don't have a podcast, but you're thinking about podcasting and you're like, well, if I do this, I want to monetize it, let's talk. Let me help you figure out from the get go what might happen from that. And you can get to that through the link that we're going to put. I already gave Barnsley the link. So it's a Calendly link. It just gets you on my calendar so we can have a quick 20-minute conversation. And
And they can go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com, right? And they can get it's on there too, isn't it? It
no,
better be.
actually, no, it's
Girlfriend, you gotta
not.
put that
It's
up there.
not. It
You gotta put that on
because
there.
here's the thing, that one is all about direct sales.
Gotcha.
So, because this
This
is
one's
my
a
thing that
different
I
one,
love to do,
podcast
because it's
monetization.
podcast is a passion for me, right? So, podcast monetization, if you are having trouble finding it, just go to calendly.com/Jennie Bellinger,
Mhm.
and you'll see all the different events I have there. Just click on the podcast monetization.
Calendly.com/Jennie, which is Jennie, Bellinger, Bellinger. I just want to say
Mhm.
that in case somebody's listening so they can hear it. Um, that is so awesome. A podcast monetization session. That is
Mhm.
fabulous. Complimentary, not free. It's
Complimentary.
complimentary because it's extremely
Mhm.
valuable.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Jenny really
People pay
knows
me
what
for
she's
this.
doing, y'all. Jenny really knows what she's doing. I'm glad to have her in my world because, I can ask her questions that are like my newbie questions and she'll tell me, the real deal because she's like
Yeah,
me.
the
She's
real
no
deal.
BS. We do no BS business here on Bold Badass Business Owners.
Yep.
So you all, I have a gift for you too. Who likes gifts? Let's
Me.
have our pop-up. So gifts. Actually, I really just, I have to do this. I have to do this. What do y'all think? How do I
I
look?
know.
How do I look
As
now?
if
I
my
could
hair
be,
wasn't purple enough.
do I look like Katy Perry? Anyway, so I have, of course, at Spirited Dash Solutions, SPIRITED dash. It's not an underscore, it's a dash, solutions with an S on the end.com. I have how to overcome overwhelm in 7 easy steps. And guess why you want to get that? Because it'll help you have 2+ more hours every week for who and what you love. All right. And what I hear from my clients and from business owners is, oh my God, I don't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. And then those of you who are really serious about getting to 6 figures fast with fun and beyond 6 figures, I offer my Get Results Now complimentary coaching session. There's an application for it. Doesn't take a lot of time, but you do need to fill that out before we schedule. And that is at spirited-solutions.com. So guess what, y'all? You just hit bingo. You got
Jackpot.
bingo. You got bingo
Yes.
at the Elks Lodge tonight. Woohoo! You sure did, because you could get this complimentary session for me, podcast monetization from Jenny, and you could get the
You
the
bet.
Overwhelm ebook, and yeah, lucky
Love it.
you. So aren't you glad you tuned in? Make sure, everybody, that you please love this, like it. We like hearts more than anything, right? Like it, love it, and share it with somebody who is also a bold, badass business owner. And maybe you're not feeling so bold and badass, but let me just say you have to be if you're here. Obviously, you
Mhm.
are. And we're here every week. I'm here with an incredible guest like Jenny at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, bringing you bold, badass secrets that will boost your business and keep you going forward. So, Dr. Barnsley Brown, thanks again, Jenny, for coming.
Well,
Love
oh, thank
you.
you. Thank you
Love
for having me.
you.
I just want more people to be successful. So thank you. Bye, everybody.
Yes, we want you to have more sex and be more successful. Remember that part? Y'all have to go back
Yeah.
to understand why I said that. We had a little,
I'm going to go
okay.
find that episode
All
now.
right. Bold, badass business owners, y'all. See you soon. See you next week.